Hello, everyone, and welcome bike to another Hard Count podcast. And today we're going to be going over my Week 6 NFL Power Rankings. We had a very exciting Week 5 of NFL football. We just finished up with Tuesday night football last night when the Bills played the Titans. We'll see how that game impacts my power rankings. But let's get right into it with my 32nd team. No surprise, the New York Jets. Is this really a question anymore? I don't think I'm going to get any questions here. I mean, the Jets suck. They're terrible. They're a free win. I don't think I'm going to get any arguments. Let's move on. At number 31, we have the Washington football team, and they moved down a spot here. We saw two new quarterbacks play for this team this week, Kyle Allen and, yes, the very exciting, much anticipated return of Alex Smith due to Kyle Allen getting injured. And I think I can speak on behalf of all of the football fans out there. When I saw Alex Smith go out on the field, I was terrified every time I saw this man take a sack. Every time he dropped back, I was hoping he would not get injured. He was taking a lot of those sacks. And, I really think that Haskins should be the starter moving forward. Washington doesn't seem interested in that. It seems like they're going to stick with Kyle Allen, which I'm not a huge fan of, but he is mobile. I think he is better as a starter than Alex Smith is going to be. Kyle Allen is more mobile. He's going to be able to escape the pocket a little more, make some more plays behind an offensive line that is absolutely terrible, with only one playmaker really on offense. So, I'm just not a fan of this, especially this offense for Washington. The defense has not been great. It's been fine. Chase Young has been good. A lot of people were expecting something Nick Bosa-esque from Chase Young. That has not happened so far. So this defense is not as good as I think maybe a lot of people were expecting. A lot of people may have been expecting a top 10 almost caliber team in terms of defense, but not that whatsoever. At number 30, we've got the New York Giants moving up one spot here. The offense is slightly more competent than the Washington football team. That's why they're moving above them. We saw them put up a decent fight against the Cowboys, who unfortunately lost Dak Prescott in the middle of the game. They put up a decent fight on offense. They scored many points, but I think anybody who is going to score points against this Dallas Cowboys defense, which is so bad. The defense, it's not been bad. Joe Judge has made the most out of the talent on this defense, which is not much talent whatsoever. Still, though, not a good team. I have them here at 30, and actually, I'm talking about the Washington football team and the New York Giants. We get to see them play next week, and usually a game between the 30th and 31st best team in the NFL would not have too much playoff implications, but that's how bad the NFC East is. Whichever team wins this puts themselves in a good spot in that division race, knowing that the Eagles play the Ravens next week and the Cowboys just lost their starting quarterback. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Next, at number 29, we've got, dropping down one spot, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just bad performance after bad performance from them. They just got destroyed by the 0-4 Texans. I don't think the Texans were as bad as 0-4. They kind of showed that. But the Jaguars just have really, really struggled. I've not been a fan of the play calling. We saw that stupid play call on fourth down, where James Robinson snapped the ball, fumbled. I don't even know what to say about that. I don't like the coaching. I'm not a fan of the play calling. I've said this since day one. This is not a talented roster at all. Gardner Minshew seems not to be being able to do enough for this offense. They're going to be tanking. They're going to be grabbing one of the top quarterbacks in the draft next year is what I expect. So yeah, this Jaguars team is looking worse and worse. I expect them to keep dropping. Right now they're at 29, dropping down one spot from last week where I had them at 28. At number 28, moving up two spots, is the Denver Broncos. They didn't even play. They're moving up two spots here just based on how bad the teams below them have played in terms of Washington and the Jaguars. The Broncos do have some talent. There's some talent on that team. We've seen Jerry Jeudy be all right for that offense. The defense is still pretty talented. I like the defense. It's better coached than the teams below them. Still a very bad team, though. We see Drew Lock return, and I like Drew Lock. I think he's got a lot of talent. We'll see how he plays in that offense, how he plays in how much improvement we can see over a Brett Rippon, Jeff Driscoll-led Broncos team. How much does Drew Lock really take a step forward with this offense? And I said at the start of the year, a lot of this Broncos team is going to rely on how well Drew Lock can play. I think that still is true. Drew Lock has not been playing at all, so naturally the Broncos are very bad. So yeah, I don't like what I've seen from the Broncos. They can turn it around. Drew Lock comes back this week. Still rough. They don't have Courtland Sutton, but they can turn it around. I move them up 2 spots this week. We'll see what they can do next week. Next, we've got the Atlanta Falcons at number 27. They moved down 1 spot. It's officially a train wreck season. They are winless. Not good at all. Their offense had a lot of promise going into the year. I liked what I saw from Matt Ryan and that offense early in the season, and that's why they were up at 20. I dropped him down big last week. It looks like that was the correct decision to make. This defense is terrible, and the offense is regressing. We saw just the week before, the Atlanta Falcons offense put up 16 against a bad Packers defense. They come out and put up 16 against a bad Panthers offense. And as I said last week, the Falcons, if they don't have that offense to be very good, which they were kind of relying on, it's a very bad football team. This offense has not been good, so it's looking like a bad football team. They fired Dan Quinn. I think it was a good move. Dan Quinn needs to get out of there. I did not think he was a good coach whatsoever. Blowing leads, not making good calls. I wasn't a huge fan of what he did with the Falcons organization. I'm not going to move him up for it because they don't have a coach. But I think it was ultimately the right move in the long run. They got it done sooner rather than later. They can look for some new coaches. Now, we'll see what happens. Falcons, though, they're at 27 because their defense is very bad. Their offense has not been living up to what it was early in the season. I could see them dropping down further on this list. At number 26, moving down 4 spots here, is the Cincinnati Bengals. And I was a little bit high on the Bengals last week. I had them at 22, and I said that I thought they could give the Ravens a little bit of a challenge. I was clearly wrong. They dropped down 4 spots here. Joe Burrow was under pressure the entire game, and I still stick by the fact that Joe Burrow is a fringe top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He has been playing very, very well, but nobody would have played well under those circumstances last week. The Ravens were able to get pressure nonstop. Watching that game was very hard for Joe Burrow because literally every single play, it seemed like he was running for his life, having to drop back. It was terrible. The receiving weapons are good. AJ Green looks like he could be injured again. Not good. T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd have been good, though. He just doesn't have the offensive line at this point. The offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL, and Burrow is going to struggle to operate behind it. This defense is not good, even though they did step up and play relatively well against that Ravens offense, which did not play well. But still, I was not a fan of what I saw at all from the Bengals. That offensive line is really going to kill them. Joe Burrow it still has some rookie issues to figure out, getting a little more comfortable in that Bengals offense, but I still have not been impressed with the whole Bengals team. So yeah, Bengals move down 4 here. I hope to see him move up in the future with the top 10 quarterback. Some decent talent on that offense, but hard to do it right now. At number 25, we have the Detroit Lions. Can't really move them. They had a bye week. I don't have too much to say. I was high on the Lions in the offseason. They haven't really lived up to it. We'll see what they can do this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hopefully they can get back on track. I like the offense. There's some good talent on that offense. We'll see if they can get back on track again. The defense is really going to struggle. I think we expected that. There's a lot of guys new into that defense going into the year, and I think they're going to get more on page. I think Jeff Okudah is really going to get going later in the season. He has been a disappointment thus far, but there's a reason he was drafted so highly. I expect him to come out and start improving, become the number one corner in that defense we expected him to be, replacing that Darius Slay role. I think this defense is definitely gonna improve. I wouldn't be surprised if the offense got on the same page. I actually am buying the Lions stock right now. I expect them to start moving up as the weeks go on, and this week against the Jaguars, it's a perfect opportunity for them to do that. So yeah, the Lions at 25. Can't really move them because they're bye week, but I expect them to see him move up in the next couple weeks. At number 24, the biggest droppers of the week, the Dallas Cowboys. And this breaks my heart to put him down here. Prayers up for Dak. I know his surgery went well. Hopefully he is okay, has a speedy recovery. I'm wishing well for his family and him. It's unfortunate for the Cowboys. I'm glad they were able to get the win for Dak. I have to drop him down here for multiple reasons. One, Andy Dalton replacing Dak. I think Andy Dalton is one of the most competent backups in the NFL. Still a loss, though, because Dak, in my opinion, was the 7th best quarterback in the NFL. And any team that goes from having the 7th best quarterback to the 28th best quarterback, which I had Andy Dalton as, that's a big loss. So I got to drop him down for that. Not to mention the fact that their defense once again showed why it is terrible. Very, very bad defense. Any team is going to be able to move the ball against the Cowboys, and that is not going to fare well, especially against better teams. So I moved the Cowboys down a lot here. I think Andy Dalton will do fine. I think that they're still going to be in the running for the playoffs because their division is very bad. We'll see how Andy Dalton plays, but still a big loss of Dak. I'm sorry about that for you Cowboys fans and for Dak, but we'll see how they can play with Andy Dalton in that offense. They dropped 9 spots this week, and I think for good reason. Still sad to see Dak go down. We'll see how the Cowboys play in the next few weeks. Next, we've got a team moving up 3 spots here, getting their first win of the season, the Houston Texans. And last week, I had them down at 26. They were some of the biggest droppers of the week, but now they're rising 3 spots here. I liked what I saw against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Deshaun Watson has looked much better in that game, and Deshaun Watson to me is still a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He did not look great in those first couple weeks, but I still know the talent was there, and it showed this past week against a bad Jaguars team. We were able to see some of that explosiveness in that offense that I was waiting to see. Some big-time throws from Deshaun Watson. The defense is still not great, but the team responded well to Bill O'Brien being fired, which is good. But unfortunately, they play the Titans this week, and that's not good. I do think that game was the last hope for the Texans. If they had any shot at the playoffs, I still don't think they're going to make it, but that was the last hope. They won that game, and if they really want to stay in that race for the AFC South, they have to win this game against the Titans here. Keep the Titans from going 5-0. I don't think the Texans are a playoff team this year, but it was nice to see them respond well against the Jaguars last week. Their defense looked good. Their offense looked good. Hopefully we can see them continue. I think that Titans-Texans game might be actually a good game next week. All right. Next, we've got the second biggest droppers of the week, the San Francisco 49ers, dropping down 8 spots. Now, I know a lot of people might disagree with this. Some people are going to want me to have them higher. I know people might be a little bit bold to have them all the way down at 22. They literally almost won the Super Bowl last year. They were the second best team last year, but they have not been the second best team this year. They've won 2 games this year, and those 2 games were against the New York Giants and the New York Jets. That is not impressive. That is my 30th and 32nd best team on here. I think people might be clinging on to the 49ers name a little bit, but I'm ready to have them free fall here. They have not impressed me whatsoever. They're having some struggles on that defense. They lost a lot of guys. The defense has severely regressed from last year. We clearly see that. They let up 43 points, that Ryan Fitzpatrick offense. Yes, this defense is not what it was last year, and part of that has to do with injuries. But I'm taking injuries into account here. They dropped down 22. Their quarterback struggles, we thought it would be fixed when Jimmy Garoppolo came back, but he was benched at halftime for Beathard. It's a big concern for me. They need to get their identity back, the 49ers that we saw last year. But until they do that, until I see that, and they beat someone more than the New York Jets and the New York Giants, I have to drop them down here. It's hard to do it because I know what this team is capable of, but I know that's how a lot of teams on here are. I know this team is capable of it. I haven't seen it though, so I can't keep them up there till I see it. And the 49ers are fit in that category right now. Their defense has definitely regressed from last season. They're having identity issues on that offense right now. They're just a beaten up team. Super Bowl hangover maybe. I don't know. But the 49ers dropped down 8 spots. Might be a little controversial, but that's what I've seen so far. At number 21, we have the Miami Dolphins moving up 3 spots, and they just beat the team we just talked about in the San Francisco 49ers very handily. I've loved what I've seen from the Dolphins and Ryan Fitzpatrick. That offense has looked very, very good. They lost a couple games this year, but they were pretty close in those games. These past couple weeks, they've blown out the Jaguars, blown out the 49ers, and they kept their 2 losses, or when they kept it close with the Seattle Seahawks and kept it close with the Buffalo Bills. I have been very impressed by this Dolphins team. They've had a rough schedule. They've made the best of it. They've won 2 of their last 4, and they've played a very, very tough schedule once again. So I've loved what I've seen from this offense, especially they've put up points consistently. The defense is solid, not quite what I expected. A lot of people, I talked about this earlier with Washington, a lot of people kind of overrated this Miami defense going into the year. Maybe people thought it was a top 10 defense because of the additions they had in the offseason and the guys they were getting back from injury. Has not looked that way. They're looking more like a bottom half defense. Not as bad as last year, though. I liked what I've seen from this team overall, especially the offense, as I've said multiple times. But yeah, I like the Dolphins. They move up 3 spots here. Staying the same at number 20 is the Arizona Cardinals. And a lot of teams, as I talk about the Dolphins, and we're going to be talking about a couple teams in the future here, a lot of teams are going to be moving up this week. I wanted to move the Cardinals up. I actually wrote up in my notes because it was an impressive win against the Jets. Yes, it was against the Jets, but I think it was a bounce back for the Cardinals. But so many other teams impressed me so much. I couldn't move them up. They're here at 20. I liked what I saw from Kyler Murray, and I said last week's power rankings that this game for the Cardinals against the Jets was the bounce back game that they needed. And they're going to be going to play the Dallas Cowboys this week, as who we just talked about with Andy Dalton. I think that they just got back up on their feet. They got that bounce back that they needed with the game against the Jets. They're going to come out here and beat the Cowboys. I said last week I was buying the Cardinals stock, and I'm still buying that stock. I think they come out and beat the Cowboys, move up in my power rankings. I think that Jets game was the bounce back they needed. So yeah, we'll see with the Cardinals. I've been impressed by the offense. The defense has been all right. We'll see if they can get back on track. All right, at number 19, we have the Carolina Panthers moving up 4 spots. Who would have thought? If you told me that the Panthers are going to be 3-2 after 5 weeks of the NFL season, I would have told you were joking, you were lying. But no. They host the Bears this weekend, and I was talking about this earlier. Either the Bears are going to come out 5-1 or the Panthers are going to come out 4-2. Neither of those things I would have expected going into the year, but that's the beauty of the NFL season. This Panthers offense has been very, very fun, and I think that Christian McCaffrey, it shows again that running backs are the least valuable position in the NFL. Mike Davis comes in and does just as good of a job. They're 3-0 with Mike Davis, 0-2 with Christian McCaffrey. I'm not saying Mike Davis is an upgrade over Christian McCaffrey, but running backs really in the grand scheme of things do not matter so much in the NFL, and that's shown here. But the offense is very fun. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, there's a lot of weapons. Robbie Anderson is really stepping up in this offense. We've seen that a lot of guys that come from Adam Gase, which Robbie Anderson did from New York, really step it up when they go elsewhere. And Robbie Anderson is just another example of one of those guys. This offense is very fun. This defense has been better than expected. They just held the Atlanta offense, which is pretty explosive, to 16 points. They're improving better than I thought on that defensive end of things. They drafted a lot of guys this offseason. Derrick Brown has looked better. The Panthers have really impressed me. They move up 4 spots here. We get to see them play the Bears, as I said. Maybe the Panthers could move up even more if they win that game, go to 4-2, which nobody would have expected. But I had to move up the Panthers big. They were rewarded for that win against the Falcons, which I was impressed with. So yeah, the Panthers move up 4 spots. At number 18, we have the Philadelphia Eagles staying put at 18. And I was actually relatively impressed with them keeping up with the Steelers in that game. That game was closer than the score indicated. The Steelers let the Eagles hang around for a long time, and the Eagles were doing a great job. I was impressed with what I saw from Carson Wentz. Unfortunately, we see the Eagles have to take on the Ravens this week. I expect a loss for the Eagles there, but good that the Eagles division is so terrible with Dak and the Cowboys just dropping 9 spots, not looking good. Washington, New York, they can afford a loss. I like the Eagles quite a bit. Their defense is making steps towards what I expected it to be, a team that is good all around on defense. Their run defense has looked great already. We'll see if their pass defense can live up to that. I want to see some guys on that offense come back and be healthy again. Travis Fulgham did step up. I don't think that's going to be sustainable, though, for that offense. We will see. But I like what I saw from the Eagles last week. I can't move them up because of how many teams around them really impressed me as well. But yeah, Eagles at 18. At number 17, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. At number 17, we saw a very impressive win over the Kansas City Chiefs. They're moving up 4 spots here. As I said, I loved Gruden's play calling, and I do think that this is a perfect opportunity for them to get the upset over Kansas City. Kansas City's had a lot of big games recently against Baltimore, New England. They look to see Buffalo next week, but it was very impressive. We finally saw Derek Carr really pushing the ball downfield. Henry Ruggs really opens up that offense. I think with Henry Ruggs, we're going to see Gruden's creativity as an offensive play caller really get to the next level as Henry Ruggs opens up that offense. He's got guys that can work underneath as well. Waller being one of the best tight ends in the league. Jacobs, one of the better running backs in the league. It's a very fun offense, and I think it's going to continue that way. The defense is still not good. We'll see how far this offense can carry this team. I'm not totally sold on them. They're moving up 4 spots this week. I was impressed with that Chiefs win. How could you not be? At number 16, we have the Chicago Bears moving up 3 spots here. And this is where we're starting to get to the streak of teams that I really think deserve to move up. As you can see, Panthers, Raiders, and now Bears moving up 3 spots. We saw Thursday Night Football, which feels like an eternity ago at this point, which was almost a week ago. They won. They beat Brady. Foles beats Brady once again. And I do think Foles deserves this starting role. I think that Trubisky and Foles, to me, are relatively equal, but I think Foles is going to make a couple extra big plays throughout the game that really could be the difference between him and Trubisky. So I like Foles more than I like Trubisky. I don't have too much to say. I think, there was a reason I was doubting the Buccaneers, and I still think the Buccaneers would win that game more times than the Bears would out of 10. But I was impressed with what I saw. I liked what I saw from the defense, really getting after Brady. Khalil Mack has been a beast this year. So yeah. At number 15, we have the Los Angeles Chargers moving up 2 spots. Another team moving up here. And why move up 2 spots with a loss? First of all, could have easily been a win for them. We saw him, the kicker, miss a field goal barely that would have won the game for the Chargers. But I was very impressed by this offense. Herbert has looked very, very good. He's a big-time throw machine. He really is able to stretch the field, and he is great for getting big plays. I love what I've seen from Herbert. This offense, it was a little concerning to see Keenan Allen go down, but it seems like he will be okay. He will be back soon. The offense will be fine. Herbert is their guy for the rest of the year. No debate. He's looked great. I've been very impressed. This defense will come back to form. It's a very talented defense. I've been relatively impressed by Kenneth Murray as well. So there's a lot to look forward to on this Chargers team and for the future. I've loved what I've seen. I don't think their record reflects how good they really are. So yeah, they move up 2 spots. Next, we have the Minnesota Vikings. Speaking of teams where I don't think their record reflects how good they really are, the Vikings are one of those teams. A 1-4 team here at 14, because I'm not taking too much away from those first 2 games where they very much struggled, because I've seen what I've wanted to see from the Vikings the past 3 weeks, and that's a good offense that's able to get the ball moving, control the clock with the run game. They almost beat Seattle this past week, which would have been a very impressive win, And, I've loved what I've seen from this offense. Jefferson didn't have the best game, but I still think he's a very talented receiver. Thielen, Cousins is getting back on track. So I like this offense quite a bit. The defense is getting things together. We saw them really, really shut down that Seattle offense that had been on a roll through the first 4 weeks of the season. So that was great. Maybe that was the defensive kickstart that this defense needed. So I'm moving them up 2 spots here. I've liked what I've seen from the offense past 3 weeks, and that was a very good sign on the defensive end of things as well. At number 13, we have the Indianapolis Colts dropping down 2 spots here. I don't have too much to say about the Colts. Phillip Rivers has been very rocky, very roller coaster. He has not played well. And I think that if there was another quarterback on that team, we may have been looking at a different story against the Browns. They moved down 2 spots here. We know they have a very good defense. Their offense, though, Phillip Rivers has been concerning. That play has been concerning. It really limits the offense, and they're beating themselves sometimes, and you can't do that in the National Football League. So, yeah, Colts move down 2. At number 12, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers moving down 3 spots. And the Buccaneers, as I said earlier, I think they still would have won that game 6 or 7 times out of 10 against the Bears, but there were some concerns. The offense is still getting things together. There's still evidence that Brady is getting used to the system, as we saw with some confusion at the end of the game and even throughout the game as well. But the defense, I think, is still getting things together. I think this team is going to really come around at the end of the year. I think that it's going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs. You don't want to play the Buccaneers. We really get to see a test against the team we're going to talk about a little bit later in the Packers next week. That should be a lot of fun. You're going to see Brady versus Rodgers, 2 of the best quarterbacks of all time. So I think that there's a lot that needs to happen for the Buccaneers to really get to that top level, but I think they're certainly capable of it. Should be a fun game against the Packers next week. But right now, Buccaneers at 12. At number 11, we have the Cleveland Browns moving up 2 spots here, and they beat the Colts. I have been impressed by the Browns. And, Baker, I think the perception of Baker is going to be that he's played particularly well this season. I do not think so. I think this is, similar to the play we saw last year for Baker Mayfield. I don't really see too much of an upgrade from what we saw last year to this year. I don't think he's been great. I think the rest of the offense and Stefanski, this is an perfect example of how coaching can really switch things up. The complete team dynamic feels different for the Browns. It feels more energized. There's more reason to go out there to win, and better play calling from Stefanski as well. So I've been much more impressed by the Browns in that regard. Their defense has looked much more put together in the front 7 the past couple weeks. So yeah, I've been impressed by the Browns. I'm not super impressed with Baker Mayfield like some others may be, but yeah, they move up 2 spots here. At number 10, we have the LA Rams. And, it's hard to take too much away from them beating crummy teams. If you notice, whenever a team plays a bad team and beats them up, unless there was something that I was particularly really impressed by, I don't really change them too much. And the Rams, that's a perfect example of it, because I wasn't super impressed with anything by the Rams. They got the win. They did what they needed to. Not enough to move them up, not enough to move them down. So they're staying here at 10. At number 9, we have the Tennessee Titans. Very, very impressive win against the Buffalo Bills. And, some people might be saying, how can you have them below the Bills? That shouldn't be a spoiler. You should know the Bills are higher than them. And I can't ignore what happened the first 3 weeks of the season. The Titans have been very good, looked very good in that one game. But those first 3 games, they are undefeated, but those first 3 games, they were struggling. They were barely beating out some teams that I have close to the bottom right now in the Broncos, the Jaguars. So I'm not going to forget about those games. I'm very impressed. I'm ready to continue to steadily move the Titans up in these top teams. If they can show me they can beat these top teams, we see them play some nice teams in the future. We get a divisional matchup against the Texans next week. But they move up 3 right now. I was very impressed. Tannehill had an awesome game. The defense looked good. So yeah. At number 8, we have the New Orleans Saints, -1 here. dropping down a spot. And I was impressed by the Saints a little bit at some points through the game. The offense has been decent. They got Michael Thomas back, so that's a big boost. They dropped down a spot because I wasn't particularly impressed because that defense has not looked great whatsoever. Another example of why defenses are not super sustainable. It has not looked good this year. The offense will get a kickstart. Brees did not look great this past weekend, but I still have confidence in him that he can still lead the Saints team. I'm higher on the Saints than a lot of people. I think it's still a very well-coached team, a team that's dangerous because of the veteran experience on that team and the talent overall. But yeah, Saints dropped down a spot here. Nothing too much to say about them. They did come out with the win against the Chargers in a tough-fought game, which was good to see. At number 7, we have the Buffalo Bills dropping down 2 spots. And, I'm not going to drop the Bills too much. I'm not going to just just forget everything that happened in the first 4 weeks of the season for the Bills because they were fantastic. Josh Allen was still very good. They were missing John Brown, which is a big, huge piece on that offense, an underratedly big piece on that offense. They were missing their number 1 corner in Tre'Davious White. There's a lot of big pieces missing on the Bills team, and obviously I don't think that would have changed the outcome of that game, but still. I'm not forgetting what happened the first 4 weeks of the season. Josh Allen still looked good. His offense is still going to be very dangerous, and I think the Bills are going to be a very dangerous team going forward. At number 6, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers moving up 2 spots here. I've loved what I've seen from the Steelers. Their offense is looking more and more dangerous, and that's very scary. I can see them continually moving up this list. I want to see them beat some more competition first. I mean, obviously they did just beat the Eagles, but their defense did not look good in that game. It was a very beat-up Eagles team, and they got torched by Travis Fulgham. So I was not very impressed by that. But their offense has looked good. The defense is not as good. The offense is looking better than expected. So it kind of balances itself out here for the Steelers. They move up 2 spots. I'm excited to see them when they play, say the Ravens. The Browns game this week should be a fun one as well. At number 5, we have the Patriots moving up a spot. They didn't play this week against the Broncos. I think they would have won that game, and they're moving up here just because of the nature of the Bills falling down 2 spots in that loss to the Titans. I was impressed by what I saw the Patriots in the first few weeks. And as I said 2 weeks ago when they played the Patriots, I think that when they played the Chiefs, I think that if they had Cam Newton, they would have won that game. I think it's a very good team. I think that some people are sleeping on what the Patriots actually are. They are a very, very good team, a team that is well coached. Cam Newton is a borderline top 10 quarterback, one of the best secondaries in the league. Very good team in New England. And then we're moving to our top 4 teams. I think this is a tier up. All these 4 teams are a tier up from everyone else. And at number 4, we have the Seattle Seahawks staying here at number 4. No reason to really move them up. No reason to move them down below any of the teams below them. I think the Seahawks are very good. We know Russell Wilson is very, very good. He's probably, I would say, first or second best quarterback in the NFL at the moment. And, he's finally getting help around him. DK Metcalf is playing like a top 5, top 10 receiver in the NFL. Tyler Lockett, always going to be consistent. The defense is not great, but the offense, it doesn't need to be. The offense is great. So it's hard to sleep on Russell Wilson. Any team with Russell Wilson is dangerous. And then you add DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. It's a scary team. So, yeah, Seahawks at 4. At number 3, we have the Green Bay Packers, and a lot of people are putting the Packers at 1 this week. I'm not ready to do it. I think there's still a lot of holes on this Green Bay team. I want to see some better competition against the Green Bay team. How are they going to perform against those teams? We see them play the Buccaneers this week. That should be a lot of fun. It should be a game where we really test out how this Green Bay defense is going to fare against some better offenses and how this Green Bay offense is going to fare against some better defenses. I think it's going to be great. This offense is very, very good. Probably the best in the NFL, arguably. I would say Chiefs is still number 1, but Packers so far have played like the best offense in the NFL. I've been very impressed by them. Aaron Rodgers is playing out of his head, looking like vintage Aaron Rodgers, looking like prime Aaron Rodgers right now. Not too much to say about the Packers. They've looked very, very good. I'm not ready to move them up quite above the teams, above the number 2 team, which is the Baltimore Ravens. Might be a little high on the Ravens for some people, but they lost the Chiefs, and I think that is a very bad matchup. I would pick the Ravens to beat any other team on this list. I've said that in the past. Despite the fact that the offense did not look great in that game against the Bengals, that was almost a sign that was good to me, in the fact that they don't need Lamar Jackson to be out of his head to dominate a game. They don't need Lamar Jackson to be incredible to win a game handily and win in other ways. The defense looked incredible. It looked like the best defense in the league at this point. They were able to get pressure all day on Joe Burrow, and it was against the Bengals team, don't get me wrong, but I was still impressed because we know Lamar Jackson is not going to have many games where he's not good. When he comes out and plays well, it is going to be a very, very dangerous offense. My one concern is, in neutral game scripts, the Ravens are second in pass rate, so they are losing their identity even in neutral game scripts. I would like to see the play calling of Greg Roman. I like to see them stick to their running, which they do so well, a little bit more in games. Lamar Jackson's throwing a lot more this year, which is not his strength necessarily. We know he is a very good runner. He's a good passer too, but running, sticking to running the ball is what got the Ravens to this point. I'd love to see them continue to do that. They stay here at 2 right now. Their defense looked incredible. So yeah. At number 1, no question for me, the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know how you can move them down. They had that Raiders loss, yes, but it's, to me, there's no question this is the most dangerous team in the NFL. It's the most well-rounded team. The defense will be fine. It hasn't looked good in the past couple weeks, but we were all saying this last year about the Chiefs. The defense came together at the end of the year when it mattered most, and I think it's going to happen again. And as I said earlier, that Raiders, it was in division. It was in between a ton of big matchups with the Ravens, Patriots, and Bills. So that was the perfect opportunity for an upset. Obviously, you would prefer for the upset not to happen for the Chiefs, but still a very, very dangerous team with the best offense in the NFL, the best quarterback in the NFL, the best weapons in the NFL, best offensive play caller in the NFL. So it's the Chiefs at number 1, and I don't really see a reason to move them down. All right, those are my Week 6 NFL Power Rankings. I hope you enjoyed. I will be updating these weekly. Yeah, thanks so much for listening. Until next time, peace.